Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of CrimeTalk. And today, just when you think it can't get any worse, we have another case of child abuse resulting in death. Another thing I want to do is talk about burdens of proof. So let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. For those of you who do not know me, I am a practicing criminal defense attorney here in Colorado, and I started this page because I was frustrated by the news media not delving into the cases and not providing accurate information. Will we always get it right? Well, we're going to do our best, and we're going to try to give you some information and try to explain some things as well. And who knows, maybe we'll all learn something. So just when you think you can't get any worse or you think you've seen it all, we have another case of child abuse resulting in death. Indiana police have arrested the father and the stepmother of a now deceased 12-year-old boy after the couple allegedly starved the child. Not only did they starve the child, but they put a shock collar around his neck and kept him in a bathtub. Now, these two individuals are given the presumption of innocence. Luis Faso, 32, and Dayan Medya Flores, 25, were each charged with 3 counts of neglect and 1 count of confinement, and Faso is charged with an additional count of domestic battery. The sheriff said that the murder charges haven't been filed yet, and because they are pending forensic testing, and they will formally determine the cause of death. The sheriff said at the news conference that this is the worst case of child abuse that he has seen in his 30 years on the job as a police officer. These cases are shocking. You just can't believe the horrific thing that people can do to children. It's unexplainable, and you just never know what people are thinking. So even police officers or even sometimes jaded criminal defense attorneys are still shocked by what people can do to other people. It is alleged that this child was severely emaciated. As stated before, the child was 12 years old and weighed roughly 50 to 55 pounds and had bruises all over his body. Curiously, though, the other 3 children that resided with these two parents were now in protective custody but appeared to be well-nourished and fine physically. The way the police came about discovering the death of this child is that Luis Faso brought his son to a hospital after the child had stopped breathing. And obviously the police were notified, and once the child was declared dead, just shortly after arrival to the hospital, the police investigation began. Apparently, the parents also had a camera available in the hotel with an app on their phone so they could keep a track of the child while he was in the bathtub with a shock collar around his neck. Obviously, once the coroner determines the cause and manner of death, formal murder charges are going to be filed against these two individuals. Their defense attorneys are going to have a difficult road ahead of them unless one can show that the child died of some type of natural causes. However, starvation cases are difficult because there are so many medical issues that come with the starvation, and this child, fortunately for the police, passed away at the hospital, and the organs and everything were intact, so they'll be able to do the forensic analysis of all the samples to see truly what the cause and manner of death was. Cause of death, more than likely starvation. Manner of death, homicide. Now, the other thing that I want to talk today about is burdens of proof. There are 3 burdens of proof out there that are most commonly used in the legal profession, particularly as it relates to criminal defense. The first is probable cause. Probable cause is what the police need to arrest you. It's what the government needs to charge you. And it's basically would a reasonable person believe that a crime was committed and that the person that they suspect of the crime had something to do with it. Very low standard of cause, very low standard of proof. It's simply enough to get the case going. Obviously, in the criminal defense arena, the standard of proof is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not a vague, imaginary, or speculative doubt, but a doubt that would cause people to pause in matters of great importance to them. Okay? It's not proof beyond any doubt. It's not proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. Those two terms do not exist in the law. It's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So, whether one's charged with a traffic offense or murder or anything in between, the government always has the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt to each and every element of the offense charged. That is the highest form of proof known in the law. All right? Now, what you hear about oftentimes is by a preponderance of the evidence. We read a jury instruction yesterday from the Jones case in South Carolina. And although the government always had the burden of proving him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, the defense raising guilty by reason of insanity. And that had to be raised by a preponderance of the evidence. The definition of preponderance of the evidence is, with respect to a burden of proof in civil actions, means greater weight of evidence or evidence which is more credible and convincing to the mind, that which best accords with reason and probability. So if you had to put it on the scales of justice, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, they would have to be weighed pretty in favor of the prosecution, obviously proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Preponderance of the evidence, just tilting the scales, more likely than not, more probable than not that the fact was proven. But that is not the standard in criminal cases. Now, the other standard that you hear in criminal law quite a bit is clear and convincing evidence. Now, this is really a standard in between preponderance of the evidence and proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And what I like to use as an example for clear and convincing evidence is, particularly in voir dire, when you're seating a jury, when trying to explain these different standards and letting the jury know the highest standard of proof that exists. The best example is if the state says that a parent is a bad parent and the state wants to terminate their parental rights and take away their children. Well, you would think that it would be proof beyond a reasonable doubt because we're taking away someone's child. Well, no, the answer is clear and convincing evidence, all right? Clear and convincing evidence means that evidence is highly and substantially more likely to be true than untrue. So, think about it. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt, criminal cases. Taking away someone's children in a dependency and neglect or some sort of civil proceeding because they're bad parents, clear and convincing evidence. It has to be more true than untrue that they're basically unfit parents, but still they're taking the children away. And then preponderance of the evidence in civil cases, more likely than not, okay? Why do you think we have such a high legal standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt when it comes to criminal cases? Trick question, show of hands, who knows the answer? That's right, because we are dealing with somebody's liberty in criminal cases, their freedom. Somebody goes to prison, and it turns out later that they were unjustly convicted, wrongfully convicted. How do you give them that time back? You can't. At least in a proceeding where, for example, the state takes away the children, when those children turn 18, no matter how bad the parents are, they could always still go have a relationship with those people. Then as it relates to, in a civil case, preponderance of the evidence, we get it wrong. Well, we tried, but guess what? We're talking about money. Money can be replaced. Money can be returned. Money can be held in trust until the matters are resolved on appeal, not like proof beyond a reasonable doubt for criminal cases. So, thank you for watching Crime Talk. Please like the channel. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching Crime Talk.